Welcome, everybody. It is another Thursday evening, and we are live with the Pundits Pundit. And I am your moderator, the Pundits pal, Denzel Snipes. I'm joined by Jen, the professional fan, professional, even though she's got two dogs, and
Yeah.
and also Jacob Christner, the Pundits Pundit, and we've got a new guest right here live in the house, Mr. Daymian B. So let's go around. How you doing? Let's start with Daymian. What's going on with your brother?
What's going on, guys?
Daymian B, you have the honor of being the very first guest on the Pundits Pundit.
I'm honored.
It is
Oh, sir.
awesome. And we love you so much if we could see you.
I wish.
Yeah, we just got blanked out by Jen or
Sorry.
the FCC, whoever.
Yeah,
Whichever
if I
it
I
is.
tried to change it. I couldn't. I'm sorry, y'all.
Glad to be here, guys.
The reason we have you here tonight is Daymian. It's like I want to explain Pundits Pundit a little bit what I do.
Okay.
It's like I don't talk. I always say, and Jen knows this, and Jay knows this. It's why we all love being on this deal. We don't talk the meathead. We don't talk meathead stuff. Like like who's better? It's like Packers. This is the Packers' year. I promise. We don't do that.
No,
Yeah.
it's them boys here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, definitely. 20
Yeah, we know what they're talking. And if there was ever a guy that came on here and said, "Oh yeah, this is the Bears' year. We're going 16-1 and going to the Super Bowl," Jake would be the first one to check him. Like,
yeah, exactly. And it's like, and I'm a Bears fan, so it's like, see, the way that this thing goes is we talk. I read a ton, and everybody can see this, like on my emails, on everything, on all kinds of different subjects. I mean, I got like three business emails I get every day. I get 2 sports emails, religion of sports, all that. So I see all kinds of different things. We bring all kinds, and you're on for the night, so you're going to see all kinds of different things we talk about.
I'm glad.
The very first one we're talking about, let's bring it on here. FaZe Clan and the rise of
video gaming. Yep.
Absolutely.
This is why we need to think. And one of the biggest things that it's been on since 2010. You know, they've been up on FaZe. It started at FaZe sniping, and the whole thing is from that point on we see stadiums. We see stadiums, full stadiums with video gaming.
Absolutely.
We see tournaments. We now have drone racing league. We have all these things now, and I wanted to be able to bring up here. It's like, remember back in our times, it's like we have an age range and everything where our parents told us, "Oh, you're just going to be the zombies in front of that thing."
Right.
Oh yeah.
And now you can make so much money. You can do so much with it. Where did the rise of video gaming come from? I want to hear from your end how this all got so strong.
Oh, absolutely. So I've been around esports. That's kind of what it's called as now. The professional league is called esports.
Yeah.
I've been around esports. I have played in esports. I've played professionally and semi-professionally. I've been around a lot of professional players, and really, I would say it started to take off somewhere around, at least like the big jumps started around 2013, 2014. So video gaming prior to that, there were like, professional leagues for really old school games, Diablo 2 in like the late 90s, the early 2000s, really dominated by like World of Warcraft. That was like...
You're making us look old by saying Diablo 2 is old school.
Yeah.
Well, keep in mind.
Hey, well, hold on. Well, Jake, I got another one for you. Doom.
Yeah.
Doom, the original Doom, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh man,
Yeah.
old school. So yeah, with those games, those were like the biggest ones, right?
Yeah.
And then the early 2000s, I would say, were entirely dominated by like RuneScape, World of Warcraft. That's when you really started getting celebrity personalities in it. Mr. T in the commercials.
Yeah.
You had a lot of people, like Ben Affleck came out and he was like, "I play World of Warcraft," and things like that,
Right.
And that really brought on a lot of people into like I guess a bigger market, right? The average consumer could now see these celebrities saying like, "Oh, they play it," and a lot of people started getting into it. I would say even with Call of Duty and FaZe Clan, I think FaZe Clan and their counterpart Optic were 2 of the biggest contributors very, very early on in the gaming world. They had come out with Machinima, which was a platform kind of similar to YouTube, but specifically for gaming content. And people would post their trick shots on there, their compilations, and all those things. And that's when the average player, the average, teenager would be like, I can get, all these clicks, look at this video with like millions of views and everybody's doing this thing. And eventually people began to capitalize on that and started delving into these markets. I don't believe, however, that even though Machinima was one of the bigger platforms that did bring it in, I do truly believe Twitch was the main contributor to the extreme success that everybody eventually found within video gaming. So much so that once Amazon acquired Twitch somewhere around, I believe, 2014, 2015, within that time, it just blew up exponentially. I think that was like the main contributor to that kind of success. And FaZe Clan really did so well adapting to that, because they didn't just stay within their own realm of Call of Duty, which is what they were best known for, right?
Well, considering called FaZe sniping, what do you think? You know what I'm saying?
Right,
the
exactly.
Thing. So
I think that's a new nickname for Jay.
FaZe sniping. That's a good one.
Definitely that's my video game avatar.
No. Pundit sniping.
Pundit sniping. We take
it. Sniping, yeah.
We take it. Those, and absolutely, with FaZe on that rise, they really branched out, delved into these other markets, and truly began to find a lot more success once they grew into like this like multi-platform kind of brand that so many other communities then went on to do, so many other organizations, and the reach became just so wide that they started picking up Puma deals, Nike deals, not just FaZe, but like other companies as well getting involved in this. There was like even most recently, somewhere around like 2017, 2018, for Counter-Strike, another very popular esports game, the U.S. Air Force actually sponsored an event for them.
Hey, that's us.
Yeah, and then actually like flew planes over the arena to open up the event for Counter-Strike.
Well, let me ask you this question. Do you believe the strength of video games and the rise of this and all of this coming? Do you think it was because it was because of the past where so few kids, like from high school, grade school, any of them, could really succeed in sports, and this gave other people a chance to have a success, and like they call it esports now, that they would have their success that gives more opportunities, considering the physical athlete, even if you go from high school and then they don't succeed in college, just may give them a shot?
Absolutely. Absolutely, without a doubt. I believe not so much to say that they are a failed athlete and they went to that. I believe so much so that you have a lot of
even athletes. Some weren't even athletes. Remember, it's like they played. Remember, there was D&D in the day. Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And nowadays, like you see, there's a lot of these people that are cultivating this personality around video games, and they're becoming very like into the scene, so much so that you can start building a career in video games from an extremely young age, right? So I have a personal friend of mine that actually is currently signed to FaZe Clan on their Valorant team. His name's Dicey, and he currently plays for the FaZe Clan Valorant team as an actual professional player. I've known Dicey since he was maybe 16 years old or so. We used to play games together, just like through video games, right? We would play League of Legends, we would play Counter-Strike and things like that. And I kind of watched him like really strive to be this person, because he wasn't really like an athletic person, so to speak, right? He wasn't really someone that really branched out and did all these things, but he was someone that really confided in video games as his main hobby. And as a result, I kind of was there for him to be like, let's cultivate this. Let's work on this. Let's play these things. And I truly did watch him grow into being a phenomenal player, so much so that now he's like, I think he's in a Totino's pizza roll commercial now or something like that. Yeah. He was doing some commercials with some other people. He has some clothing line deals that like he has lined up, like small little things that I've seen with him, but he's just one individual, right? there are so many people now across the entire world, exactly what you were just saying, where, you know, they're not into sports, but they can play video games, right? And
Right.
the pay grade of these professional players, especially if you make it in and you're not like an excellent player, so to speak. I'll use League of Legends as an example. League of Legends is the biggest esport on the planet. It's a MOBA 5 versus 5 arena kind of game. The goal is to destroy each other's base. League of Legends has such a massive following and such a massive community around it that the players that play in the LCS, that's considered the Premier League, where you get signed to a team and you play professionally. The average pay of a player that isn't even considered a star is around $400,000 salary. Just
nice.
Yeah, somewhere around there. That's if you're not even a star. Some of those players actually go on to make somewhere around $5 to $10 million on a yearly basis, which is very comparable to actual sports contracts nowadays.
Yes,
Can I ask
true.
you? I'm going to ask one more question, and I want to leave it to my colleagues up here to ask you questions. I want to ask one more. Now, what does it take? Now, there are people in the past, like let's say NASCAR, for instance. They would say, "Oh, I can do that. It's just going around left." You know,
yeah,
of course, you know the absurdity of that.
Yeah.
So, could you give us here at the show a basic? What does it take to really get in as a esports, you know, as a star in esports, as a star in video games? What does it take to be? I mean, what kind of stuff does it take? I mean, how good do you have to be? What kind of work does it put in?
So, I think I think it's very multifaceted, right? I believe that for you to excel and to become a star at video games, so to speak, at a professional level, takes more than just one thing. In the same way that you can't expect to shoot a basketball more times than everybody else, and then now you believe that you can be in the NBA, right? You can put in the hours, but still not get to that point. There has to be other things that have to bring you there.
Of course.
So some of those things definitely is, you know, innate ability, right? What's your reaction time like? How fast can you react to things? What's your critical thinking ability? How fast can you do something on the fly in a, you know, high stakes situation where if you lose this team fight based on one small move that you might make, you're out of $6 million. You know, like there's small little things like that. Can you handle the pressure of that? It's a lot of things like that. And then it really goes in the mentality of it. And it is, how much more do you want it than the next guy? Because the reality is, right, is unlike sports, there is innate ability within sports. Some people are just faster. Some people are just taller. Some people are just stronger. And that is innate ability, right? If Shaquille O'Neal had never picked up a basketball, he'd still be pretty good because he's 7'1", right?
Yeah.
He would still be better than at least all of us, even if he'd never played a day of basketball in his life. But when you have literally millions of children where their dream job is to play video games and get paid, you got to understand that they want that. And you have to want it more than them. You have to put in an absurd amount of hours, an absurd amount of effort that it will definitely become at a time really debilitating to yourself. You know,
like
and that's where
else.
a lot of those like stigmas come from, where, you know, they, you know, bad hygiene, or, you know, they don't take care of themselves as much as they should. That's where a lot of those stigmatic things come from. And I'm not saying that you have to do those things to achieve it, but that is where those things come from, because all those people are striving for the same goal. And that requires wanting it more than the next guy.
Well,
you know?
doesn't that hold true to everything? You've got to be the best. You have to want it more than the next person.
I do believe so, but I believe the sample size is much larger for a technically like skill-less job, so to speak. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that it doesn't take skill. Obviously, I know it does. But again, with innate talent, right? If you're around a bunch of NBA caliber players, you have to know that your sample size is so much smaller than that of the general population.
True. You've got to.
Did you have a question? I'm sorry. Did you have a question, Jay? I was about to say. So did you have one?
Yeah, so I had a question. It was actually more for the panel. So, you touched, of course, upon, the rise of FaZe Clan right around the 2010s, and I'm thinking a generational sense here, and I'll give an example. Like some older generations say, like, oh, well, today's generation doesn't want to work. They don't want to work. They're lazy and such and such. And actually, this generation has seen the rise of entrepreneurship. So I'm just giving you an example here. It's not that they don't want to work. They don't want to work for you. So with that being said, seeing the stigma that, the older generation put on, oh, well, playing video games is just for losers. You'll never accomplish something. You'll never be nothing. Do you think that part of the reason for the rise, because you can make money from this, a lot of money. Do you also think that the rise of FaZe Clan is also a slap in the face to the baby boom generation?
I think yes to both in a sense, not in a like actual like slap in the face, like look, I'm gonna stick it to him, right?
But, well, yeah, kind of. Like, I got that chip on my shoulder. I'm going to prove to them that I can be successful from doing this when they said I would be a loser.
I think that's fair. I'll speak from a very anecdotal perspective, right? At first, and then I'll give a larger claim. But so anecdotally, I also did the same thing where I wanted to play professionally, and I put in the time, I put in the hours. I got to a very, very high rank at some point, and I was considered at one point around top 500 in North America for League of Legends out of about 30 million players, right? Nice. So I was pretty up there at that point. And my parents had always said the same thing, right? Like, you're wasting your time. You should be doing this in school. You should be doing that. Just like the older generations always, or, typically do. Nice. And it was up until I started bringing home a check that my parents were like, oh, well, maybe, like, if you're actually making money from this and, you're starting to do this, maybe this isn't so bad. And then eventually it went on and on up until the point where I actually started making a considerable amount of money, so much so that I could turn it into a career path, that they were like, okay, well, this is no longer just a child's game. This is no longer just you messing around on the internet. You're actually doing something with this. And it took some years of convincing for them to really just change their whole perspective. And I believe that that's a very anecdotal experience in my own. However, I believe that that is what's happening in many households around the world, really, is that not just because their kid is making money from it, but they're seeing on the news nowadays. Like, you guys remember when the Fortnite kid won the $1.6 million or something like that for one tournament, and it made CBS, it made like all these massive, like CNN, Fox, it made all these massive news networks, and it was in everybody's household. It was almost impossible to avoid any talk of Fortnite whatsoever, like 2 years ago. Right?
You remember that. Remember they just came out with the little update and the place acted like the Cubs won the World Series.
Yeah. The Cubs winning that put us in a parallel universe.
Oh, no, no kidding. But here's the thing also. But you were bringing this up that it's like what these parents say, what we talk about, like Jay brought up. Oh my God, they don't want to work. They don't want to work. There's a partial truth, but I'm going to bring this part. And Jay and I think everybody's going to agree with this.
Okay.
It is what we have is like we have these under 30-year-olds, and they are making billions of dollars. And then we also have the people that are just lazy and they're on and they are on TikTok all day. Do you know what we don't have? We don't have an in between.
True.
I agree entirely.
The ones that we don't have that many that will go to Taco Bell and save up. You know what I'm saying? They save up, and they won't save up, and they won't get themselves a car and do all that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? They don't do that. That's the thing is, yes, we have more kids than ever that have a work ethic. Mm-hmm. We have more, and then we have more kids than ever that have a laziness, but that's just more people. But we don't have the in-between that are saving up for the car, that are doing, that are just trying to get themselves through college. There's such a different time now. And it's like, and especially with gaming now, you give themselves a chance, whoever wants to put that kind of work in.
Yeah, I mean it's clean. It's clean success, and you also is going to have the part of the older generation that's still going to be mad because you didn't succeed the way they wanted you to succeed. Because Papa worked in a factory, he wanted you to work in a factory. You
That's
see
in
what
a
I'm
bad
saying?
home, though.
Jen,
like
go on.
legit. I want to speak real quick. That's in a bad home. Like, to what you just said, Jacob, to what you said, I disagree. I think there's always been an element of laziness, but if you're in a good home, you want your kid to do better than you. Like, look at the Greatest Generation. They wanted all of us to do better than they did, right? And then they, but then things have changed and evolved. So I don't know. I was raised in a really good household. Daymian was too. I know that. I believe you two were as well, Jay, based on our personal conversations.
Yeah.
Jacob, you adore your family. So you guys get it. But I think, there's always that element of laziness, or maybe not even laziness, maybe people who have, educational differences, shall we say, and they don't know how to channel what they're good at. So, and my husband's name is Slackass, right? So we're going to go with, there's that element of laziness, but he's also one of the most brilliant people you're ever going to encounter. Daymian can attest. And they, so I don't know, like I'm hard pressed to say there's more lazy people today versus more people who are struggling to find their own way. And yes, of course there's lazy people.
Well, let me say this, and you're correct on that. But what I meant by the more lazy is I was saying there was more also badass young kids there ever was before. More the ones that are making billions of dollars, the ones that are coming up with ideas. There are more than there ever. That's what I meant by that. What I was meaning by it, and I appreciate what you said, Jen. You're correct on that. What I was meaning by it is I think that there's less in betweens. The ones that said they're trying to set up just go get themselves a car and go out there and just go get making the money to go out on a Friday night, whatever. You're either kicking ass and trying to build 100 businesses when you're 22, or you're 33 and still at home. That's all I meant.
Right.
I think it's a pretty fair assessment, especially in the video game world, which is kind of sad to say, as someone who actively works in that field, but it's pretty sad. But the reality is that is kind of true, right? I have been around a lot of people like that. Again, that's very anecdotal from my perspective, but being around a lot of that from what I've seen, I do believe that there is not so much so like more lazy people, but I do agree in the notion that there is less of a middle ground. It's like there are people that are just all the way go-getters that are putting in an absurd amount of time with this mentality that is far beyond their years and absolutely making a killing. And then there are the people that are still trying to pursue that career and it's not working. And I'm not saying you should give up on it, but I'm saying that you need like a whole different formula if you want to find that success, and they're not finding it. And I think you're right on that there is like a very large amount of people trying to make that like, but it's kind of in the same way as like, I'm going to move to New York and become a model or actor or something like that. Right. I feel like that is our generation's version of that. I almost think that is our generation's version of like, I'm going to move away and follow this dream and commit. Right. And that's what we're doing today.
Yes. And I want to say this is where you're getting towards. It's the same thing that I'm thinking is there's a disconnect between generations, because this generation here is just like you said, I'm going to move away. I'm going to follow my dreams. But the older generation is like, no, you're just being lazy. You should be in school. You should be in a factory. You should be doing this and this and this. And because, again, and I know, Jen, you said that comes from broken homes. It also
doesn't necessarily come from broken homes. And I'm sorry if that's how it came across. So.
Okay. Well, then here, let me set it back straight. Not necessarily broken, but maybe very prideful families. Think of the preacher that wants his son to be a preacher, and he goes and does something else. You see what I mean? My thing about it is and I said all of that to say this to the question, is I do think that this is a chip on the shoulder type generation. We're going to succeed, but not by your standards. We're going to succeed by our own standards. So if it is by playing a video game, getting really good at it, and bringing in $100,000, $200,000 checks, you know what? I'm not selling drugs. I'm not killing anybody. I'm not in jail. You should be happy.
And
It's true.
The way I look at that, though, is like that's how every generation has been. We're doing it our way, damn it.
Well,
And
here's the
that's
thing about
how
the
I see that,
generation.
though, and it's just a different way. I'm sorry, I was itchy nose.
No,
Sorry,
no,
Jake.
you're good. Here's the thing about this. This has always been with the generations. I mean, I tell kids all the time. I'll talk to kids because my thing is I'm honest. I sell optical in the daytime, so you see kids all the time. You know what I tell kids quite a bit? We are the first two generations that have had the ability to truly dream, quote unquote. That without being embarrassed. Because even the pro athletes of the day, outside of maybe like a Wilt Chamberlain or whatever, and that's time, and Bill Russell, we can say, other than those times, literally had to go work in insurance agencies or lumber yards or whatever in the
so did like Johnny Unitas and all of those guys.
Yep,
and that's true.
In the off seasons,
it's easier to make money nowadays with one job.
Yep,
because I will say that's where America and that can-do attitude has come in, because however you spin it, that's how America was built.
Yeah, and it's like it's the off.
Sugarcoating that a lot, but
Well, I'm just saying the off season. But see, they did that in the off seasons, and then all of a sudden now you look at this Michael Harris II off Atlanta. I mean, he's played 60 some odd games, and he's now got a $72 million contract. And he's like, and these are the things. This is where people they are able to dream. Way back when we talk about the parents that want the kids to do it their way and the parents' way. Clark Gable won an Academy Award, and then his own father. I mean, he was making multi-millions of dollars even at the time in the 30s and the 40s. In those times, even his own father was saying, "Now go get a real job." I mean, he just won an Academy Award and done all that, and his father's saying, "Go get a real job," and he's got 400 times the money his dad has.
And it's funny because I was just thinking that how many parents wanted their kid to be a doctor or lawyer, and they became a musician, an actor, something like that.
I mean, my parents, my dad, I had a couple of brothers, half brother, half sister, uncles, architect. I mean, engineers, architects, contractors, all over the place. I become the Pundits Pundit and whenever I want to, actor. I mean, but it's like we all kind of find our path sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, we did. We're at almost the halfway point of the show. Well, they want to move on to the.
Daymian, we have a lot more to go.
Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. So the next one we wanted to touch on is Dana White and the pay for UFC fighters. So earlier in the week, Dana White made the statement. When it comes to the pay for UFC fighters, he said there's not going to be any change or any significant change. He said these guys get paid what they're supposed to get paid. And he even made the quip. He said they eat what they kill.
Yep.
So this right here did not fly well with many people, especially those who feel that the fighters go in there and they put their bodies on the line for entertainment purposes. The same risks that come with boxing and football and everything, because it is a contact sport. These guys can suffer debilitating injuries as well. And I know, and myself and Jacob had touched upon this about a month ago when we did our All Pro Wrestling special of the Pundits Pundit about how the guys don't get real medical compensation. It comes all out of pocket, But I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts on what Dana White said. Did it come across, the stereotypical greedy CEO? Jen, what's going on?
Yes, absolutely it did. And I was cracking up at Jake Paul saying, "Hey, Dana, let's be in the ring." Because absolutely it's ridiculous. It's greedy. I mean, I understand if you're starting and you're making 160, which is roughly what their base pay is. UFC annually makes a little more than $4.2 billion with a B. And for them to only pay $160,000 Like literally, any bank will pay you. Like as you get into middle management, you're getting that from a bank. So you're literally doing this for the love of it, but you do have to be able to pay your benefits. I think AEW is the only one that has any benefits for anything like the wrestling, fighting genre at all.
Right, yeah.
That's just
huge.
because Khan gets it.
That's huge. And especially like with the entity like World Wrestling Entertainment, which has been a global entity and it's been worth over $1 billion for quite some time. And the crazy part is the average wrestler makes 400,000. So there's always been controversy going on with that. Like how come they don't have like their own medical benefits or anything you can afford
that's
it. I know I have a feeling who's going to be behind it and when. But
I'll explain this. Number one, Triple H and stuff are now involved. Guess who Triple H's best buddy is? Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash is the absolute positive ultimate union guy. The ultimate union guy. He was a Ford guy with from the Blue Oval. He has been talking about, besides Jesse Ventura, about the idea of protecting the boys for 25 years.
Here's my thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, and you guys can explain this, Jacob, probably, but you better than most, given your career. Yeah. But how do they get around by just saying that they're contractors when they're literally on TV and the ring every freaking week?
And not to mention, they signed real contracts.
Yes, signed real contracts. So they can't go fight for another.
Yeah, it doesn't make no. I see exactly where Jen's coming from. It doesn't make any sense because here they are on contract. We can't release you because you're still on contract. Right. So you can go sit at home. The rest of the contract, you can't go to anybody else or whatever. All this on contract. But when it comes to medical, you're an independent contractor.
Hey, Daymian.
Exactly. Wow. That's not how it works. Didn't Uber just get in a lot of trouble for that in California?
I think so, yeah.
Hey, Daymian.
What's going on?
I'll bring this up to you.
Okay.
These guys know. They know about what I do because I go on Facebook and I give a lot of opinion, a lot of everything. A lot of things I'm right about. A few things I'm wrong. Again, that's what you do. That's what you do, and you do it a lot.
Right.
But here's one of the things I did get completely correct, and they've seen it. From the get-go of LIV Golf, Live Golf, I was saying this is going to give hell to PGA. I got laughed at. I got everything just because it looked crazy. It looked everything. They are now giving hell to PGA. It's making PGA change things. It's making them go call Tiger Woods now to go see what we can do to keep people in the PGA because they keep defecting. I said this before they were even open that this was going to happen. And it's like, and guess what? The reason I say this kind of part is not because this is the kind of thing. It's like you look beyond the weeds. You gotta look behind the weeds. And it's like the reason I could say something like that is because I'm going to be some kind of soothsayer and I'm going to charge money to do this. It isn't that thing. It is because if you are in Q school in golf, you don't stand any load of chance if you don't make the thing. You're not making any real money. It takes a lot of money to survive in the golf world. And then all of a sudden, LIV with Saudi Arabia's money is telling them you can get this guaranteed money to go continue to play. And when you are in PGA and you don't make a dime for making a cut, unless you had an appearance fee. You get my point?
Yeah,
absolutely. If you look at the bottom ticker, I got an update for you.
Yeah. Oh, okay there. Of course. Like, you won't see that much in the regular season, so no. No.
Hey, it's Davey Boy Smith. I mean, sorry. Is that sorry?
But no.
Baby girl Smith.
But that's been my thing. It's like I wasn't trying to say this to be a soothsayer about LIV. I think it comes next in tennis. It can come. Yeah. Guess what? Saying this right now, what we're putting here, that is the next in fighting. You don't think there won't be a Saudi Arabian thing that tries to take out Dana White and say you've got a guarantee?
That's exactly what I was thinking as well.
And exactly. In my opinion, the whole thing with Live Golf, and then the Saudis got a lot of money. So I could see them starting up their own MMA league. But I think, in my opinion, I think as far as the defectors and non-defectors, is going to come down to moral code because people are already calling this the biggest concept of sports washing they'd ever seen, considering Saudi Arabia's reputation. You know, Daymian, just your thoughts on what Dana White said. Any thoughts on that?
I think that's awful, honestly. I think that that is honestly so terrible that one of the most like fastest growing sports on the planet, and at that right now even considered one of the most popular sports, definitely in the United States, where everybody seems to be tuning into it on a week to week basis, especially for like the big cards, and the amount of revenue that is pulled in from these events, from these fighters. It's terrible to me to know that Dana White is making so much money off of the backs of these individuals, and they get paid virtually nothing. They get paid almost nothing in comparison to other athletes of their sport, or like especially to like some of the bigger stars of the sport, where they get paid an enormous amount of money comparatively.
Well, look at Conor McGregor. It's like he's going to make the biggest check of his life just being in that ridiculous movie.
He should be like banned from the United States. He should just be extradited and not allowed back in the U.S. He is sorry.
I wasn't going to name drop Conor, but yeah,
that's what I'm saying. And you're correct, by the way, on that. But I mean, he's a pitiful human being. But I'm saying this based off the thing. He's got himself on a poster for whatever reason, because it's going to be terrible acting. It's going to be everything, but he's going to make the most in his life. What makes anybody think he's ever going to come back to put that kind of physical fight, put that kind of physical wear and tear on you when you see that one check just doing nothing?
The crazy part about what you just said about and on the topic of pay is, and it's not like he wasn't getting paid, because he's a top UFC star. You know what I mean? Whether you love or hate the guy.
Yeah, he was.
But what if I told you that his single biggest payday was no UFC fight? It was a fight with Mayweather. He made $100 million.
Oh yeah,
yes, that was his biggest payday ever.
Yep.
It was a boxing match.
Mm-hmm.
And
match that was like, the boxing match, I just believe was, even at that, it was like a total show. It was all for just money, realistically, right? I think everybody watched that fight almost knowing what that outcome was going to be by the end of it, before you even watched it, right? But it was the fact of the matter that he like definitely went into that trying to make that money. And I'm not saying that that's a result of Dana White or not, but it goes to show that like that money is only available in boxing, it seems, right? Outside of like the fighting sports.
Conor's making more than that 160 though with UFC. Like he just is. Like
he definitely is.
Yeah, he's making a couple mil probably.
No, he absolutely is. I'm just saying that like the difference of pay between like an average fighter to Conor is absolutely massive. Even when Conor's like on a massive downtrend, by the way, Conor like hasn't been the star that he has been. He's still getting these high title card fights. He's still getting these big names that he's fighting, and he's making an extreme amount of money. And there's also people that I believe personally should be getting those that are just not, right? And the fights they are getting, next to no money from that.
Yeah. And just think at, in Conor's case, it's the same with Ronda Rousey, it's the same with John Cena, Rock, you name it. A lot of their money ain't coming from wrestling and fighting.
Right.
Rousey's in film. Conor went and boxed. Dwayne Johnson's in film. Like all these other dudes. A whole lot of, you look at the dudes, the John Cena's and all of them, and okay, yeah, sure, they're making like $1 million a year, but where's all that meal coming from? Was all of it coming from WWE? Probably not. And now he's going on and doing films. You look at Dwayne Johnson, he's like the biggest actor in the world. His net worth is $390 million. You know what I'm saying? So
it's always been this way. It's like Hulk Hogan has always said he didn't think Vince was paying him as proper. And it's like, he's got to remember, he was on the, I mean, even back through 85, 86, whatever, he was on Love Boat. He did Rocky before to get away from AWA. Did Rock or WWF to go to AWA? He did Rocky. It's like he always, and he did music even though it was horrible. He did horrible music, but he did awful, horrible music. But guess what? He did. I would venture to guess 40-45% of Hulk Hogan's money throughout his life and we're not even going to talk about the lawsuit.
Was actually
What came
wrestling,
from other areas?
yeah.
Because he had a billion other ways. He had movies. He had TV appearances. He had everything.
Action figures, bobbleheads,
Yes,
cartoons, you name it. You know, like
lunchboxes, book bags, everything. He was New Kids on the Block before New Kids on the Block existed.
Massive. Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to list absolutely everything out of everything that happened in that decade, top 5 things of the 1980s, Hulk Hogan is going to be on 90% of people's list because everywhere you turn, there was him. He was on, just like Jen said, he was on a cartoon. He was on a music video. He was in the ring. He was doing this. He was doing that. He's showing up with Michael Jordan trying to dunk a basketball. He's doing this. Hogan was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh, I mean,
did he try to get into our favorite song too?
Which one?
Because I really could see it. We Are the World. Because I was totally listening to that last night and thought of you, Jay.
Oh,
I wasn't in it, but I bet you he tried to be in it.
He probably did try. And hearing Hogan, imagine Hogan sing is beyond praise. Go ahead.
Well, Hogan. Here's the thing, though. Hogan was a great bass player. He's a great bass player for the guitar. So he would have a tune of some type. That's the thing. But the biggest thing though is, I mean, Bruce Beefcake once did in an interview saying he was holding a check of Hogan's once doing the thing, and it was for WrestleMania. It was $1.2 million. You don't think he wouldn't have made a lot more than that in other areas?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's what the thing is. It's always been that way. You're physically beating each other up. Jesse Ventura tried getting a union in there, which guess what? It's happening. It's going to happen now with Triple H. Kevin Nash is around.
Here's
Nash
my thing. I just don't understand why the federal government hasn't come in and been like, you're getting small business loans. You're doing this and that. You need to. Oh, wait, that's right. His wife was working in an administration.
Yep, absolutely. I would not be shocked if Vince McMahon sent Linda to politics purposely. Just in case they try to come down.
Multiple reasons, including
I wouldn't be surprised if he sent her to like, I gotta do something. I know you and Steph and Shane got this wrestling thing, and I'm sort of cool with it. Oh, go get politics. You know why? Because I need protection if it come down to
right.
She was more security and hit woman than actual politician, if you think about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because she's taking all this crap for so long.
Yeah.
Like she and Hillary should be besties.
Yeah,
I feel like they would make it fun.
So what do we have for our next topic? We have 42.
We have the NBA incubator. I think that was one you wanted to touch on, Jacob.
You know,
yes.
The thing about it, the biggest thing I love about this stuff, and we also have you here for this, Daymian. You know, we have these things. Here's the deal. I was reading up on this, then everybody else has been reading up too. Jen has been reading up everything. The incubator is we literally have a brand spanking new way of training these athletes. It is
and
now
coaches and the refs.
And
Jordan
the refs,
Long, my buddy, if you are watching, you will love the launch pad. You will love the NBA launch pad.
Explain the launch pad. Explain that.
So the launch pad's pretty cool. It actually will elevate health and wellness in youth basketball. It enhances elite youth player performance. It's also innovating ankle injury prevention and recovery. It's also advancing referee training and development. And how it works is, and I'm just on the NBA's website right now. Several companies from each priority area, who cares about that? As part of the NBA pilot, the selected companies from the priority areas participating in unique 6-month R&D, moths. But basically how it works is it's kind of like, to me, when I was reading all about it, I'm just going to go off script here. It reminded me of the esports with the NASCAR, and that people were like, I don't know why, because it evaluate like the NASCAR stimulations will help the drivers drive better, right? So this is helping the refs actually see plays better. It helps see how injuries occur, and it helps, and it also kind of ties in with what the NFL has been doing. I know Luke had a special helmet from a company, and he was doing R&D because they wanted to try to see how they can prevent CTC and future concussions. So to me, it kind of all meshes together in that it's just a lot of R&D trying to help everyone get better, get the play better. And I kind of also think the XFL with the first time around, because when they were doing everything, sending everything up to the booth to do a drone review, then that really helped. So I don't know, like in my mind, somebody in the NBA came up with all this together, merged it to help prevent injuries for kids, grown-ups, everybody. And it really came from a summer G League game in Vegas in 2020, right, Jay?
Yeah.
Okay. And who was it that got hurt? Like he made a last minute game winning shot. Robert.
It was. I'm looking it up right here. He was.
Matt
I just
Ryan.
had a picture of him. It was.
That's ironic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Richard Jefferson really helped pull it all together. And it was there because Matt Ryan got hurt during, and just so anybody knows, it's Matt Ryan, the basketball player, not the football player, not the quarterback. And
he's a great athlete, don't you know?
He's just in both. He's just good at both.
There's only one Julius Peppers, though. You know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, there's only one JP. You don't mess with Jen's boy now.
No, yeah, don't mess up. Yeah, we had a really good breakup, but we reconciled, so we're good at the end of the day. So.
Hopefully, Megan Price can say the same about Dak Prescott. Go ahead.
Yeah, right. That's her favorite ex-husband.
But yeah, that's basically.
I thought it was Kawhi. Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much what it is, and it's really cool. I love that the NBA is actually being proactive. I hope the NFL takes note and actually does some things too to really elevate what's going on, and to help officiating and help injuries. Because let's say facts, all professional players know how to beat and game the system. Yes. They really do. Like if I don't have to pretend like I don't have a concussion, don't think that these players don't know how to do the same thing this little girl from North Carolina who was never a professional athlete knows how to do.
What do you think? I was going to say this, Daymian. Overall, do you think this do you think it's at least 10 years, maybe less, that we see this in every sport?
I would say under 10. I would definitely say under 10. The way that we are progressing, especially in areas like this, augmented reality, VR, things like that, this market is being fleshed out so fast compared to like every other video game genre. This is because this is like the great thing about it, right? Is especially once you get like actual sports involved. Well, now there's like so much more incentive, right? The best way to analyze and help, with injury reductions, like you don't want people getting injured. You want to analyze them better. You want better officiating. The only way to improve on these things is to witness them in real time. And obviously, if you're not going to do that in a game, augmented reality is by far your best bet. I think things like this are not, while it is a very difficult thing to pull off, right? Once you get it once, though, like once you understand how the systems of it work and how you can integrate it, I think
riding a bike.
Yeah, it's just like riding a bike. You can just incorporate this in so many other different ways. I absolutely think that that's going to be not just a normal reality that like we live in. I almost think that it will be required sometime within the next 10 years or so. I think
I like how he's thinking.
Everybody.
I like how he's thinking. It's gonna be outside of sports at some point in time. It's gonna be outside of sports, and not necessarily like, of course, not office jobs and nothing like that. But think construction, mining, lifting jobs, where you have to carry a load and whatnot. Anything physical. I can go as far as saying in the next 15 years, I can see companies adopting it. Yeah. And, private companies, and then it's going to widespread, like corporations. So I see this going beyond sports. I mean, as long as they can justify that it's a rightful tool that helps people, well, of course, they're going to start with athletes because they're the most physical ones. They're kind of the guinea pigs right now,
Mm-hmm. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Then you're going to see it widespread, like more and more. But it definitely helps the athletes. Daymian was explaining just now. Sports, especially football, has come so far. We're always talking about advancing medicine. They have better medicine, better training, better everything. We've talked about this, Jacob. 50 years ago, turf toe was a career-ending injury. Now you're out 10 minutes? So
I mean, we talk about augmented reality. I mean, Daymian augmented his reality with that background. So I mean, we still
right.
It's like no, but no.
No, that's the Sims. He playing the Sims.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, but the point about it though is I'll say this, Daymian, we had on one of our other shows, Basket Bros, like on Sunday night, we had a debate. The dog in you, the athlete, the dog in you versus versus
load management.
Load management. Thank you. The dog in you, having the dog in you versus load management, the one that just grinds. And I have to say this, I'm a gigantic Larry Bird fan from the day. I mean,
oh my gosh, I'm going to make you stop talking about Larry Bird.
No.
I know he is your G. I know he's your boothie.
No. Let me
Jacob,
finish. Let me finish. No, but I was saying this, but I brought this up though. It's like this is not his day. What I was saying though, it's not his day, and it's like one of the reasons I bring that. I just wanted to bring that up to you, Daymian, on that part, but. It's like the reason I brought up that debate. Hey, why not? Let's make it 3 or 4 more. No, but
the Cub Velvet is back.
Michael Jordan. No. But no. But the biggest thing is the reason I brought that debate up in the first place was because it's like this is not the era of grinding it out and putting the whole world on your back to try to get it all. Was it fun for me to grow up with? Yes. No question.
Yes.
But
absolutely,
but Kawhi Leonard won an NBA title in 19 with load management. And it's going to get there ever since. And it's like it's going to get to this way. And now we are into this thing of augmented reality, of the incubator now. And I wanted to this is one of the reasons I really love to have this idea tonight. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I love that we brought this up because this is such a different world.
Yeah,
yes.
I agree with that. I think I believe Kevin Durant talked a lot about this individually. I believe he was on either All the Smoke or he was on The Old Man and the Three with JJ Redick. And Kevin Durant was talking on there, and he made a statement saying that so many more athletes today are taking real estate in themselves as businessmen, right? And just like what you guys were just saying a little earlier, talking about wrestlers, Hulk Hogan, like how much money he would have made from endorsements, and similarly how much people today make money outside of their respective field. I think that's what athletes are doing today, right? They are taking real estate in themselves in believing that you are not just an athlete anymore, right? So sustaining these injuries through having that dog in you and forcing yourself to play through these things rather than to load manage as you do today, I think is the way that people are gearing themselves toward. And I think it's a very subjective element, right? That not everybody's doing, but I do believe that in that sense, there is a lot more people more willing to enjoy the incubator for things like that, or to utilize the incubator for that exact reason.
Well, one of the things I brought up with that was I brought this up on Basket Bros also. Jay knows that Jay and Jen saw this one. I brought this part up. Old school of the day names: Bernard King, Kiki Vandeweghe, Moses Malone. Every single one of them ended their career way too late. Every single one of them ended it on the bench about 8 minutes because they needed a check.
Right.
Now, you will never see James Harden do this. You will not see KD do this. Definitely not LeBron, especially at $97.5 million. You're not going to see, you will not see Zion Williamson end like this. You will not see any of it. This is where you're taking stock into, you call it the business. You know, you're the athlete is now doing.
Sorry.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Well, he's like little thing there, but it's like we are 54 minutes in. We have one more, and we have one more to go. And what do we have right now?
All right, y'all's choice. Do we want? Oh, no, just one last. What makes a good businessman? The legacy of Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
I want to bring
this is just so you know, Daymian. Jim Cornette is Jacob's other boy crush. Just so you know.
Okay.
Totally, absolutely. I'm such a boy crush. Jim won't want to hit me with a baseball bat this week.
Oh, no. I'm so over it. Like, I have to listen to Jim Cornette like every day, every freaking podcast. Yes.
It's like no, Okay, I wanted to bring this part up because this is a Dear Jim letter. And I love your two. I love the two of you there, Jay.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, hey,
yeah.
I want to remove your
We just
frozen.
cloned ourselves.
I was. Oh, go ahead.
This is my Dear Jim letter. I was listening to his doing a comparison between Heat and ECW. I listened to that thing. He was talking about what is the difference. He said a bunch of different things, all that kind of stuff, because every one of his subjects will go up 55 minutes at a time because he talks even more than I do. That says something. but the
It's
biggest
close.
Thing, yeah, it's pretty close. Yeah, it is pretty close. But the biggest thing that he said, he thinks that he was a shit, as he called it, a shitty businessman, just like Paul Heyman. And I wanted to bring this as part of the gym. Here, this is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Heyman went $7 million in the red when he was bankrupt. He was $7 million. He owed things. He had money, $2.5 million coming to him from the pay-per-view that did not want to pay him because he was not going to get distribution. He couldn't get anything. He robbed Peter to pay Paul. Couldn't pay his wrestlers. Everybody, he owed so much money. I mean, some went broke just to keep him alive. Jim Cornette, by the time he was over with it, owed $11,000. He paid that off with one of his checks from WWE. Paid that thing off. To me, and I want to say this part, the reason I said the legacy of this, to this day, I think Jim Cornette could start Smokey Rotten Wrestling back because he was a payoff guy. He could pay people. And he could, to this day, and he could get something. And I don't think he wants to anymore because he's getting older. He makes more money than he ever did in his life doing this. He makes
more money from his podcast than he did doing this.
Yep.
Everything, yeah.
And he makes more money. So, but I'm just saying this part. A great businessman, and you, as somebody who works in a business every day, Jen, you work around business every day. You can understand what I'm saying here. When you are able to pay off something, you're paying your people. You got in business, and then when you got out of business, you're not in the black, but you're flat even. Would you not say that's a pretty darn good businessman?
Of course.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, from what he from how much he lost, yes. In that case, yes. However,
he paid his people off. That's what I wanted to. I wanted to get your opinion on that. I just want to hear it, though.
True story. Dana White, probably a better business person. Shitty human being, but a better business person.
Well, yeah, he's a better business person because he makes a lot more money. But I was just all I'm trying to bring up is when you get
But Cornette's a better man. Let's say that.
Yeah.
So, and I think at the end of the day, Cornette will end up having made more money than Dana White.
Yeah. Well, also consider this, Jacob, is Dana White has been the CEO of UFC for how long? Smoky Mountain Wrestling was only around for 4 or 5 years.
4 years. And that is true. And that's what I'm.
And it was in the backwoods. I mean, have you ever been to Knoxville?
Yes. I lived in Cleveland, Tennessee.
So,
I lived in Cleveland, Tennessee.
Have you, Jake?
Yeah, I lived in Cleveland, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Smoky Mountain, and also consider this too. Dana's is he built UFC up to like a global. Smoky Mountain was regional, it was Mid-South.
Exactly. And it's a small town. I'm trying to think
these cats was wrestling
sorry, Megan, love you. It's kind of like Amarillo, probably about the same size of Amarillo. Amarillo might be a little bit bigger. Everybody knows about it. Nobody really goes to hang.
Yeah.
That's not so. However, as Daymian can attest, there's a really cool road we can drive through. It's kind of like many sports, cars are tested on this stretch of road. It's this Dragon, right? So I really like Jim Cornette. I think he just chose the wrong location for it.
Yeah. You're right. Better man. You're correct. You are correct. Absolutely a better man. Even though the dude's got a temper and he uses ball bats to beat up on, he wants to kill Vince Russo all the time. But
I wouldn't be surprised if they tag Cornette to come run WWE.
Yeah, I can see that.
I could see that.
But the biggest thing though, the reason I was saying that is he even said it himself. He could have stayed in business a little longer and gone through the thing, but he said he didn't want to use any more money of Rick Rubin's. That was his reasoning. But to me, sometimes you don't have, for instance, Paul Heyman had no control. He was completely out of business. He was done. He had to go straight into the booth, basically on Monday Night Raw, straight from to go make some money. He had to do that. Cornette really didn't have to do that. It's like sometimes you're out of your control, whatever you do when you're making business. I'm from a business family. It's like you're out of your control sometimes, but I want to put this as a bit of a debate. It's like, I don't want to hear, I'm not saying he's the greatest businessman in the world. Of course, Dana would be better, and he made his millions. But when you paid your guys off, when you paid everybody, and people have respect for you, there's a certain level of respect there about your business acumen. You've had the money every time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'll just say this and then we're going to close. You know, people would probably call Vince McMahon a businessman for the same reason that they call Dana White. Even though his morals may be like a little misaligned, but, you know, you have to think about this with the general public is they're always going to look at the money. They're always going to look at them. Even though we all know money don't make you a great character, a great individual, or anything like that, you know, but they're always going to look at that aspect. And you know what, to a certain extent, actually, no, not even to a certain extent. I mean, Dana White is a good businessman. Vince McMahon's always been a great businessman.
Yeah,
bad people, but they're great businessmen. They know how to market. They know how to push. They know what stocks they got on hand and all those crazy numbers. You know, they got accountants. They got lawyers. They got all of that. Yeah. Business is always going to be in their blood. They're always going to be good businessmen. You know, Ted Turner. Ted Turner at one point in time had TBS, TNT, the Atlanta Braves, and WCW.
And CNN.
You know, and CNN. You know what I mean? That dude literally has half the money on the planet.
He's got everything. I mean, she's not a really good American, but she's a really attractive chick. So
yeah, you know. Hey, those are. I'm just thinking of a small. There's small business. We'll just call it a small business for a second. It's all I was thinking of. It's like there are business people that can, to this day, that cannot pay their people. They can't pay. They can. Sometimes there are ones that screw job, and there's ones that just cannot. I mean, I went by a restaurant that I've gone through quite a few times. I mean, quite a few times. Poke Bar. It's just Poke Bar over here in Atlanta. I've gone there quite a few times to go eat, and I just go there. Trying to get a bite to eat the other day. It says closing, and I go ask the people if that a place called Fruitable what happened. Guy couldn't pay his rent. Place is busy all the time.
Now I will say,
busy all the time. Was that just bad cash management?
Probably, but I'm just saying it's like he was busy all the time. It's probably bad, but I'm just saying there are bad business people.
Yeah. Now I will say this much is Ted Turner, out of all the names that we named, probably was the one dude that was a good businessman and paid his wrestlers. You know, he gave Eric Bischoff a blank check. Sign whatever to sign this guy. And this guy, and this guy. They were on multi-million-dollar guaranteed contracts in WCW. So it's not like people in WCW were far from broke. You know, Scott Hall himself said the reason why he went to WCW, he said, you know, in this business, you either make friends or you make money. I got enough friends. I like the money now. He offered Kevin Nash a $1.5 million guaranteed contract. Nash still told Vince McMahon, all you have to do is match it and I'll stay. Vince couldn't match it. You know, so it's not like dudes over there in WCW are starving. But I say all that to say maybe Ted Turner is the exception. He's a good businessman and he paid his guys.
And you never really hear anything bad about him.
You never heard nothing bad about Ted Turner.
It's true. No,
true. I'm sure he's a billionaire. I'm sure he's got his dirt. But listen, long as we don't hear about it, all right, whatever.
If you know? Alive, I think
if it's not in the news, it's okay.
He's still alive.
He's still alive. He's in his, I think, his 90s. I think he's in his 90s.
Barely.
He's about as old. He's about as old as Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah. Well, he's barely alive too.
Yeah, he was born November 19th, 1938.
Yep. Yeah, he's up there. Wow. But we're 3 minutes over. We do have to close. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in to the Pundits Pundit.
Daymian,
also, thanks to Daymian for coming on the show. Man, it's been great conversing with you, dude.
If you don't
let everyone know you can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess it just on Instagram at Daymian B. That's like my only really handle that I really have. But either way, thanks for having me on here. This was honestly
Daymian, this was an awesome show. We appreciate you.
And Daymian will be our nuts rep for. I just made him promise right before you guys came on. He will be our nuts rep on the NBA carousel.
Extortion.
Yeah,
I know.
Extortion.
It is extortion.
Me and I became friends, and I'm not Uptown Jenny anymore, so I gotta have my connects.
Yeah, most definitely. But it's
because you're not Uptown Jenny no more. Oh, you Charlotte Jenny. That's what it is. So you go to a couple of Billy Joel concerts, and now you think you're somebody.
No, I think I'm in the suburbs and I miss living uptown. I miss being the uptown girl.
It's been awesome, everyone. It has been awesome.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you,
Most
Daymian.
definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, for our guest Daymian B, Jacob the Pundits Pundit, and Uptown Jenny, even though she's still in the suburbs. This is Denzel Snipes and the Pundits Pundit, and we will see you in 7. Later.
Michael
Bye.
Jordan. No.
1-1.
I'm gonna hurt you, Jacob.